I joined the American school in second grade, so I learned
Oh,
English in the second grade. Yeah. I grew up pretty much all my classes were in English and all my writing stuff was mostly in English. I actually spoke more English than Portuguese, even though I lived in Brazil because I went to the American school and my mom just pretty much wanted me to be able to speak English and have opportunities, anywhere in the world if I wanted to.
yeah. So you mentioned around 14 the drugs started to come in. What were they at that time?
So I think it started pretty much with like weed and alcohol. But then eventually I started experimenting with pretty much everything.
Mm.
And like I was telling you, to me it was like a very glamorized thing. I wanted to do drugs because they were cool and they made me cool. They made me feel cool. They made me feel less intimidated, less shy, more outgoing, more able to talk to people, more able to talk to guys, and so I really love drugs, putting it very simply. And I said this in an interview recently. I actually remember buying a book when I came to the United States about drugs and just going through the book and going like, I've done this one, I haven't done that one, and I wanted to do them all. And I'd have like these parties in my own bedroom where I invite a bunch of kids and have tons of drugs and have like kissing games and do this crazy stuff. It was like this really fun time of like experimentation and rebelliousness and, like enjoying youth
Yeah.
pretty much in my perspective at that time.
What kind of a house were you living in that you could have?
I had a huge house. Yes, I lived in a huge, huge apartment. So like my parents' room was like in one side of the house and my room was in a completely different side of the house. So I could be like completely separate from my parents and just tell them like, hey, tell my mom, my dad had passed away already, but tell my mom like, I'm having a party. Do not come anywhere near my room. My mom would always find a way of coming by, but it was a huge house and I had a huge bedroom and a lot of people fit in that bedroom.
Oh, that's funny. But how was your mom? Okay, so as a parent now, I've got a 14 and a 13-year-old. Like if one of my kids told me that, I'd be like, the fuck you are. Was was mom still kind of struggling with the passing of your dad, or was it just
So, yes. And my mom was super young. So my mom was like in her early 30s.
oh wow.
So she had lost like the love of her life in this car accident that she was also in. She was in the hospital, she had her recovery, and she was going through the loss herself, and now she's like super young. She has to manage this entire like estate pretty much and, take care of her two really young kids. But my mom being very young, she was also like cool, she liked doing stuff with us. She liked going to concerts with me. We would travel together. And so my mom always tried to be like our friend, I feel like, rather than like an imposing authority, because as an authority, it would never work out. Like I would beef with my mom to death if my mom told me what to do or you can't do this, you can't do that. I'd be grounded all the time and find a way of running away. How many times I ran away to different cities. So by trying to control me, my mom was never able to.
Mm.
So she kind of tried to be my friend instead. But I don't think that she realized at that point, like that drugs were that involved in the situation. She thought it was more harmless than it was, probably.
This is the Knocking Doors Down podcast, featuring celebrities, experts, and everyday people who have overcome adversities, including addiction, mental health, and trauma, to live purposeful lives. And that's what Knocking Doors Down is all about.